The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles burst onto the toy scene in 1988. They were new, exciting, and green. So what more else could you ask for? Well, how about two menacing mutants who were bigger and more brutal than the Turtles? Just look! They wear dead turtles for pads! These guys went out and killed normal turtles so that they could wear them as armor. These guys are brutal! These guys are Bebop and Rocksteady. Hi, I'm Gary from Raz Rentals. Sit back and relax, and let's talk a little bit about the first fearsome foes of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Bebop and Rocksteady were created by Peter Laird. When Playmates failed to create suitable adversaries for the Turtles, Peter Laird stepped in and gave them these awesome evil mutant designs. This to me was the birth of what this line would be, a massive army of mutated animals. This was very different from Mirage Comics, where there were only about 2 to 3 other mutants. Don't quote me or anything, but I'm pretty sure Peter Laird regretted this decision because later on in the 2003 series, the Mirage Volume 4 series, and pretty much any Mirage Comics, and the 2007 movie, Peter Laird left Bebop and Rocksteady out of everything. He even left them out of... I'm pretty sure that it was probably his decision to leave them out of Secret of the Ooze. I think that, in general, he didn't like the excessive amount of mutants running around in the Turtles universe. Since Peter Laird sold the TMNT to Nickelodeon, Bebop and Rocksteady have made a triumphant return. They appear in the IDW comics, the 2012 cartoon, and finally made a theatric debut in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, I think it's called. I don't know. I didn't see that movie. It did not look like my cup of tea. One of my favorite moments for Bebop and Rocksteady is in the Archie comics, whenever they decide that they don't want to be human anymore, or tied down to their human counterparts, so they go and they live in the wild with the other rhinos and warthogs. Bebop and Rocksteady are mutated punks that work for the Shredder. In the cartoon, they start off being pretty tough and menacing, but as the show goes on, they become more of a comedy relief. I mean, Rocksteady even starts to talk almost like a baby or a little boy. So, they changed a lot in that show. What they lack in fighting skills, they make up for in brute strength. Just look at these guys. They look like they can crush the Turtles. Do they match their cartoon counterparts? Yes and no. I think Bebop is pretty close. He's pretty close, but Rocksteady is off for me. I'm pretty sure that they probably made the toy designs first, and then they based the cartoon characters off of those original toy designs. But Rocksteady is a little bit of a puzzle for me because there was another Rocksteady figure that they made before they made this one. He had a bigger head and a more muscular body, and in my opinion, he matched the bulk of Bebop. And from what I've read on the Technodrome forums, Peter Laird said that the body was it was made up of too much plastic and would have been too expensive. So they decided to trim him down, and we got this Rocksteady. And in my opinion, that original toy was amazing and awesome. So I'd like to know if they based Rocksteady on the original toy, or if they just took this toy and, just kind of tried to make him match Bebop in the cartoon by, making him a little bulkier and larger in size. Rocksteady might be my favorite in the cartoon, but my favorite toy is Bebop out of the two of them. Just like the Turtles, in the original line, Bebop came first in a soft head and then came later on with a hard head. So let's take a look at both of them. Okay, so when it comes to the hard head versus soft head sculpt, the soft head figure has no seam on his head, which is nice. The hard head Bebop has a seam that goes right down the middle of his face, which is kind of distracting. The overall size of the head is bigger on the soft head Bebop, but I think unlike the Ninja Turtles, you're not really losing any kind of shape or mass. Like, they seem like they kept it very similar. It's just that this head is a little smaller. You can mostly see it if you look at the glasses here. The width between the eyes is bigger on this one than this one. Even his nose ring is bigger. It might not be coming up as clear on video, but I assure you, it's there. in general, the colors on these two Bebop's face are very similar, but the hair on the soft head Bebop is very bright purple, where this guy's very dark purple. Other than that, the paint on his face is kind of like thicker, so it kind of bubbles up and breaks off. Where the paint here, like this little extra bit of pink, is more of like an airbrushed kind of look. So I don't think you're going to really have that problem unless you're like smashing it against something. You could also tell the size difference because on this Bebop, you don't really see as much flat area on where the neck connects to the head. Where on this guy, you can clearly see that, he's got a little bit of extra flatness there. Now, his articulation is you can spin his head all the way around, and you can try to rotate his shoulders, but they only go so far before the shells stop them from moving. His arms move around, or his wrists both rotate all the way around, and his leg joints are ball joints, so you can twist them or turn them. One of the easiest differences to spot on this Bebop figure is the bones on his arms. On this soft head version, you can barely see the skeleton's bones. You know, it looks almost as if it was like worn down, but I think it was just probably soft whenever they made these guys. You know, the hard head version, it's very clear. You can make out all the details and the different, it's very sharp and in your face. The bodies are relatively the same size. Like, I can't really notice that much of a difference here, unlike the turtles where it was very clear. I think that the paint on the soft head version is thinner because the paint on this guy is a little thicker and you kind of lose some of the detail. Also, I think that maybe some of the details is just a little sharper on the soft head version. So like if you look at these little pins on his jacket, you can they just stand out a little more, and like the frills or whatever on the sides of his jacket. The only thing is with the soft head version, the face is a little softer. So like on the hard head version, you can clearly see like defined lines a little better, like in the earring. And I never really noticed it until now that he's got this lip ring here. That's pretty funny. Oh, see that? It's starting to chipped a little bit there. Playing around with it too much. I think the paint, you can clearly see it in like the belt here, where this is very sharp and this is a little gunky or gooey. Same thing with the shoes. You're losing some detail with this guy because the paint is so thick. You're like losing some detail on the shoelaces. The pants, though, it's kind of, I'm getting a little bit of a rubbing area here on the leg. So, on the pants, you can see that, like, I can't tell which is a little better, the sculpt-wise, or defines. This paint is very thick and very black. So it's kind of hard to really make out the details. But, he's got this, see if I can adjust this at all. There we go. He's got this leg brace on both legs, which is such a nice little extra detail for him. And, let's see what else. Oh. These original Bebop figures have like flat feet and they're filled in. And I think that this Bebop came later on. I'm gonna adjust this, is very bright now. Okay. I think this is a later Bebop, and the way his feet are, they have like indents and the holes are in a different spot. Also, this Bebop has a very shiny, bright pink face. Where this Bebop, he's more of like he still kind of retains more of that dark brown. Like this is very, very pink. And the other difference is that the the shoe color is very maroon on this one, where this guy's more like a ketchup red. And same thing with his jacket. I always really like this embroidery or whatever on the back of him. I always thought it looks kind of like a bird face or something. Okay, Bebop comes with 3 accessories, or weapons. First, he comes with his knife, and I really like this knife because to me it looks a little worn and dangerous. It looks like the kind of knife you would expect a punk to have in like a street fight. I also really like how the handle here looks kind of like it has a bird head. Second, Bebop comes with his garbage can shield. And I like this thing because it's just one of those like gross things that, you know, the Ninja Turtle line really excels at. And it's just creative and fits the personality of the line really well. And last is Bebop's Turtle Shell Drill. Now, I love this weapon because more so than any blaster or gun, I mean, this weapon is just brutal. I mean, the thought of Bebop drilling through the shell of the Ninja Turtles to try to hurt or kill them it's just such a pretty graphic idea, especially when you were a kid. The details on this thing are very nice. I like all the little buttons, and I like the little, like, you know, scope here you can look through. Although you wouldn't really need to look through that if you're just using it as like a close weapon. All these weapons fit in their hands very nice. I don't have any problems with that. When it comes to standing, Bebop stands very easily. I give this guy like a 10 out of 10. You know, he's got 2 flat feet, so you're not really going to have any problems whatsoever. I always like the extra details on him, like, you know, the turtle bones and even like the necklace, stuff like that. I feel like that was like the beginning of where this line was headed, with having like all these weird little extra details that really gave all the characters an extra bit of personality. Now, when you're collecting these guys, one of the biggest problems that I always see is that on these soft head figures, the arms start to get like spots in them. It's from the plastic degrading a little bit. So, you know, that's a problem. You got to just look out for it and try to find ones with the smallest amount of spots you can find. However, this hardhead version, he is like starting to get sticky, which is another form of the plastic degrading. You know, it's starting to it's not as solid as it used to be, I guess. I don't know. It's some kind of scientific thing I don't understand. In my opinion, I kind of prefer the hardhead version of this guy. I don't know if it's just because he's what I grew up with. I had the hardhead version with this dark brown color. So, out of the two of them, I kind of lean towards him. While I think Bebop looks like a punk that turned into a mutant, Rocksteady to me comes off more of as an army guy who's been turned into a mutant. Now, it was punk rock to wear like military clothes and stuff like that, but I think they didn't really go enough in the direction of punk to make him look like a punk army dude, you know. I never had Rocksteady as a kid growing up, but everyone I knew had him, and my general feeling is I didn't like him as much as Bebop because I felt like he lacked the bulk, and he didn't look enough like the cartoon Rocksteady. I kind of wish he had more of like a build like this, where, you know, for the Pizza Power game, like, he's got the same outfit and he's got the helmet on, but he has more of the bulk and size that he has in the cartoon. You know, one thing about him is funny is in the cartoon he like hardly even wore that helmet. I think he only wore it in the first couple episodes, and then after that he like, I can't remember him ever wearing it again. I'm not trying to beat up on Rocksteady, you know. If you like him, that's cool. It's just, you know, I kind of wished he was a little different back then. Earlier versions of Rocksteady came with the soft head, but unlike the Turtles, you know, this head is, and Bebop, this head is larger than the soft head Rocksteady. I mean, you can clearly see that it's longer from the back of his helmet to the front of his snout. Just like Bebop, some of the details are lost on the soft head, and you can see them a lot clearer on this one. But you know, it's not even with every Rocksteady, because you have this Rocksteady head, and some of these details are missing on this one. This one also is like wider. Like you can clearly see that the nose on this one is wider than this one. So, you know, quality control was all over the place back then. The head for the soft head version is more like a bluish gray, and this is very gray. It matches the body a lot better. Another problem with these soft head Rocksteadies is sometimes the heads get off of the track. Like there's a very thin peg that comes up from the body into the soft head, and this one is just kind of skewed, where his head is kind of crooked a little bit. And you know, and also the legs on this guy too are like crooked for some reason, and I can't fix it. And you know, that's another problem with collecting is, you know, I have this soft head Rocksteady where, you know, everything is nice and straight, but his paint is not as good. So that's how that goes. Now the details on this guy are very similar too. The bumps on his arms and stuff like that, they're very similar. You're not really losing anything from the soft head figure to the hard head figure when it comes to the arms and the chest and like the back. I would say that the paint is just like, you know, it's thinner on this guy's body than it is on this one. So I think that like, you know, comes off a little nicer. It's not as like, you know, muddy or whatever with the body. When it comes to the legs, same thing. You know, the seams are a little harder on the hard head version. They're a little softer on the soft head version. I do like the paint better on the soft head version because the legs aren't as shiny. You know, the paint is a little bit more dull. So you can see the camo a lot better, and you can make out the details in the like the folds and stuff like that in the clothes, where the shiny hard head version is too shiny, and it's like, you know, it obstructs the camo. It's distracting. Same thing with the t-shirt. The bottoms of his feet are similar. This is very dark. He's a very dark color. Now, this Rocksteady too, that has the bigger, wider head. Same thing with the arms and just in general. Like, if you look at the bumps on his arms, they are a lot bigger in here, and you lose a lot of space between them. Like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, look how close all these are. And it looks almost like a completely different mold than this one because of how... Yeah, I don't know, that's weird. Like, there should be at least somewhat of a space on this one, but there isn't on it. Everything else kind of matches up pretty similar. Now, Rocksteady's got the same kind of articulation that all the other turtles have. You know, his head goes back and forth, but it only goes about this much. His arms can go all the way around. He's got articulation in the wrists. Now, he's got a wristwatch here, but what is this thing? This is just like some kind of bracelet. I don't know. And he's got ball joints in his legs, so he can move his legs around and twist them and whatnot. Also, there's a difference between these hard heads. If you look at the necks here, there's a lot more space between the bottom of his neck and like the front of his chest. Like there's a big gap there. And this hard head Rocksteady does not have that. But the soft head versions definitely have that huge gap. So in my opinion, the winner is this hardhead, Rocksteady. I think he looks built better, and you know, he just looks a lot nicer. Rocksteady comes with 4 accessories. First, he comes with his turtle carver knife, and I love the name of this thing because it's such a, a creepy idea for your Ninja Turtles. This looks pretty cool. I've noticed that they do come in 2 colors. The softhead version came with the brighter gray, and the hardhead version that I have came with a darker gray. I don't know if you can really even pick that up on here, but I assure you in person you can notice it. I like this knife. It looks more like an army knife though. This looks like something that like Rambo would have in the woods. Second, Rocksteady comes with his Manhole cover shield, and I like this thing. Just like Bebop, I like that they use like a gross thing as a weapon or a defense kind of thing. Now, there are 2 different kinds of this shield, and one is for the Cheapskate, and the other one comes with Rocksteady. And I had to look it up online because for a while I couldn't figure out what it was, but I will tell you how to spot the difference. If you look at the Rocksteady shield, he has 6 squares here on the top and the bottom. And on the Cheapskate one, you have many little holes here. And also, I guess probably even more telling than that, is you have these lines above and underneath City Sewer, and Rocksteady doesn't have those lines. See that? Also, this is it's kind of more round. This is very like straight, and it doesn't have any markings on the side. But it looks like it has cuts and dings and stuff like that. So that's how you can spot that. The holes are different on the Rocksteady one too. And it's pretty similar in size. But there you go. Next, Rocksteady comes with the Retro Mutagen gun. Now, this thing is obviously a machine gun. I mean, come on. They could call it the Retro Mutagen gun, but I always imagined this was a machine gun. And this design is such a classic Ninja Turtle design. So classic, in fact, that even though it didn't come with the NECA Bebop and Rocksteady, they just recently packaged it with the Triceraton. Now this, like the softhead and the hardhead version, you do get different sizes with this. So, like, this dark gray one is a little bigger than this light gray one. And if you have this softhead Rocksteady, you put the dark gray one in his hand, and it fits really well. Like you're getting some resistance and it stays in place. However, you put this light gray one in his hand and it goes in very easily, and it's just it's a little wobbly. So keep that in mind. Rocksteady comes with one more accessory, this removable belt. Now I have 2 different versions of this belt, and one is significantly better than the other. The first one has these like extra fake holes, I guess similar where the buckle would go. These pouches here have buttons, and even on the turtle shell here, there's like a little clip to show how it connects to the belt. And it's got these holes in the back, and I think this is longer too than my other one. It goes further into this buckle, which is nice. If you look at this one, it has none of that extra detail at all. It's got no extra holes, no buttons, and it's got no clips to show how the turtle shells connect to the belt. What happened here? Why'd they cut all that stuff out? And like I said, I can't tell because this is my fatter Rocksteady, so I don't know if it's just, because of his extra size that it's not going through as far as it should, or if it's just because this is shorter. Rocksteady is a figure that I never had, but I always wanted as a kid. I mean, despite his flaws, I still think he's a very classic Ninja Turtle character. I mean, he's like, Bebop and Rocksteady is just like peanut butter and jelly, man. Once you have one, you got to have the other. And, despite the flaws, you should definitely pick them up if you don't have them. When it comes to standing, he stands okay. He's not as well balanced as Bebop is. You know, he's like a little taller and a little. I guess he's still muscular, but he's just a little scrawnier. Now, I was like, you could either put the knife in the front of his belt like that, or like if you want to, I always sometimes will stick the knife like in the side of the turtle shell, in case if I like, you know, don't want to bend the knife. It doesn't really bend too much in there, but it looks like it can be like starting to warp it a little bit. Same deal with the soft head figure. A lot of my soft head Rocksteadies get spots on the arms. But the hard head figure, I don't notice any problems whatsoever. Later in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle line, they eventually released a wacky action feature. I can't remember what they're called. The wacky versions of the Ninja Turtle toys. And they released this wacky version of Rocksteady. And in some ways, I kind of prefer this head. You know, it might be a little goofy, but it just looks like nicer. I think, you know, later on, the characters became a little bit more expressive. And I think that this Rocksteady head fits the later look of the Ninja Turtle line, where very quickly I feel like this Rocksteady head almost was kind of dated or didn't fit in with the rest of the line. It's like a little held back a little bit. Bebop and Rocksteady were the first evil mutants the Turtles got to fight, both on screen and in the toy aisle. As a huge fan of these characters, I'm glad that NECA and Super 7 are continuing to keep them around. Super 7's new figures look like perfect adaptations of these guys, and you know, it looks like they're finally giving Rocksteady the bulk I think he needs. Between the original soft head figures and the later hard head figures, I think I prefer the hard head versions of these guys, but it's a very close fight. I think that, you know, it's nice to see the extra detail on these guys, and even though the heads are a little smaller in size than the soft heads, I think that it didn't really lose any shape or mass. You know, like they still look solid, unlike the Turtles, where I think they kind of got a little warped. Well, you know. So let me know what you think. Let me know which you prefer out of the two. And next time I will have a review on the Ninja Turtle Party Wagon. So that'll be part 3 of my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1988 review series.